Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea YouTube channel, and this is Open Mic, the all-open discussion show talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of stuff in between on the John Campea show every day. We take a little bit of time, as I forget to mute my thing over here, we take a little bit of time to go to some live questions, but on Open Mic, that's all we do, open forum. And before we get going today on the open questions, you guys have already started sending in live questions. Two things to talk about. First of all, yesterday, Ann and I did our Avengers Infinity War live 2-hour special spoiler review. We were wondering, would we get enough questions to get to 2 hours? Holy shit. Ann and I went 2.5 hours, and we still only got about halfway through the questions that came in. So I'm going to do a special Avengers Infinity War spoiler review companion video. It'll go up on my channel later today or tonight, and it'll be called Infinity War Part 2, Infinity War Spoiler Review Part 2. But here's the thing, so many people had so much they wanted to talk about, I'm considering doing a Part 3. I'm considering doing a live spoiler chat on Avengers Infinity War Part 3, just because I could not believe how many people wanted to talk about it. So I've got Part 2 coming, that'll be a companion video, clearing up all the live questions that we didn't get around to yesterday. But then I'm thinking maybe tomorrow night, I'm thinking about doing a Part 3. Just so we can talk more about it, because apparently we all want to talk about it. So keep that in mind. All right, the next thing I want to mention here is that you guys remember that yesterday the box office estimates came in, putting Avengers Infinity War at $250 million estimate. Now, one of the things that I said is, look, there's always a little bit of fluctuation in the box office from the estimates on Sunday to the actuals on Monday. They're usually bang on, but somewhere between 1% and 3%. The thing is, usually 1% to 3% difference doesn't make any difference whatsoever. However, since the estimates at $250 million put it at less than 1% above Star Wars The Force Awakens' previous record, we said we got to wait to see till Monday. It could go up, it could go down. If it goes down, Star Wars The Force Awakens is still the record holder. If it doesn't move or it goes up, it's the new record holder. Well, the actuals just came in, and it went up. The now actual box office record, the new record, is Avengers Infinity War at $258 million, beating the previous record by just $10 million. And it is an incredible feat. It is a remarkable feat. Now, I mean, I said for a long time, I don't think the Force Awakens record can be broken for a couple of years. I thought it was going to take a few more years for that record to be broken. I mean, what we've definitely said is what can't happen is a $300 million opening weekend. There's just not enough theaters and theater seats and screenings that could, hold a $300 million opening. But I thought it would be a few years before that 247, because when The Force Awakens broke the record, it shattered the record. Like, it just shattered the record, beat the previous record by like $30 million or $40 million or something like that. So I didn't think that would be touched for a while. Then 3 days before Infinity War comes out, I had to change my tune. So you guys asked me, said, okay, final guess. What do you think it'll happen? I went, okay, now I think it'll break the record. And then the Friday numbers came out saying, I'm regretting that I changed my mind. And now it happened. It happened. It broke the record. So congratulations to Disney for beating Disney. Disney wins and Disney wins. So it's all Disney, but congratulations to Disney for breaking their own record. It is quite a feat. All right, with all that out of the way, we're going to go to the live questions. I'm going to ask you guys, though, please no spoiler questions regarding Infinity War here, because although we did our live spoiler review the other day, there's still people in this chat right now who have not seen Infinity War. So please be courteous to each other like that. Or be a disgusting little filthy asshole. I mean, whatever you want to be with your life, I suppose, is up to you. But please consider being courteous to everybody else who may be here who has not seen the film yet. All right. With all that out of the way, let's get to the first question of the day. And the first question today comes to us from Curtis Lopez, who writes, "Hey, John, it's my 25th birthday. Happy birthday, Curtis. I hope you have a great one. Are you going to be doing spoiler reviews for Solo and Deadpool 2 enjoyed yesterday?" You know what's funny? Ann and I just talked about that this morning. I had a lot of fun doing the, for those of you who don't know, when we did the spoiler review yesterday, I had Ann on with me. I had a lot of fun doing that with Ann. And I think, yes, I think we will do spoiler reviews for Deadpool 2, and we will do a spoiler review for Solo. And I think I'm going to have Ann on for both because I thought having her on was great. It was a lot of fun having her on. So yes, we are going to do spoiler reviews for both of those as well. And probably same deal, 2-hour open discussion, spoiler reviews, probably 2 or 3 days after the film opens. And yeah, I mean, we just had such a good time doing it yesterday. It was amazing. 2.5 hours. My throat was killing me. Jose M. writes, so what are the official box office numbers for Infinity War? It looks like the official actual total is $258 million. Previous record, Star Wars The Force Awakens at $248 million. And it beats it. It becomes the new record holder. Absolutely stunning. It is an event film. Now we're going to have to wait and see what kind of legs does it have. It's a long film. It's a very long film. That's going to hurt it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to hurt it a ton. So we're just going to have to wait to see what kind of legs it has and what kind of long-term thing. Here's an interesting analogy too. Again, it's beating a dead horse a little bit, but it is interesting to look at it. Worldwide, Avengers Infinity War almost made as much as Justice League made worldwide in its entire run on its first weekend. Wrap your heads around that. On its first weekend worldwide, Avengers Infinity War has nearly made as much money as Justice League did in 12 weeks. In its full theatrical run, Justice League made about $650 million worldwide. I believe the number for the worldwide opening weekend number for Infinity War was like 630 or something like that. So in one weekend, it just about makes as much worldwide as Justice League did in its entire theatrical run worldwide. So just wrap your heads around that as an analogy there. All right, let's move on here. Curtis Lopez writes, are you invited to the Solo premiere? As a matter of fact, yes. I just got my my invitation a few days ago. So Ann and I will be going to the Solo premiere. And for the first time ever, we're going to dress up going to a premiere. You're not supposed to dress up going to a premiere, but we're going to dress up. Ann's going to wear her Han Solo outfit. And I've ordered a little something myself. I won't tell you what it is that I've ordered. But I've ordered a little something myself. You'll see when we take pictures from the premiere of Star Wars Solo. They're doing the premiere for Solo on May 10th. So like 2 weeks before the movie opens. So I'm thinking they've got some confidence in this film. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Ann and I are going. Kyle B. writes, almost guaranteed that Infinity War crosses 2 billion. Difficult to say. I mean, it's off to a great start. It's all going to be about the legs. You know, because a number of you guys have been tweeting to me, is it going to be a challenge because it is over 2.5 hours long? That will be a challenge, but it's not an unovercomable challenge. It will affect it a little bit. I believe there are a number of people, like I've already talked to some people that loved Infinity War, don't plan on seeing it again though because it was so long. You know, I've talked to a couple of those people. How big of an impact that will have, we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed to cross 2 billion. I would predict it's going to cross 2 billion. I would guess it's going to cross 2 billion. On the over-under, I would give it like a 76% chance that it's going to cross 2 billion. So I feel pretty good that it will cross 2 billion, but I wouldn't put $1,000 on that. Like I wouldn't say it's guaranteed because it's a big number that requires a lot of legs and we'll just have to wait and see. But I think it's a pretty safe bet that it will. I'm just not willing to say it's a guarantee at this point. I mean, it could go 2.2, $2.3 billion. I mean, it could go way up there. We'll just have to see the kind of legs it has. Curtis Lopez writes, what is your name? What is your quest? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? 7. No, good Monty Python reference there. I like that. Curtis follows up, who wins, Knights of Ren or the Knights Who Say Knee? Well, it depends on how many shrubberies they have. If they are fully loaded on shrubberies, and have max shrubbery capacity, the Knights Who Say Knee could pose a threat to the Knights of Ren. Otherwise, the Knights of Ren are just going to slaughter them completely. Jack121 writes, saw Vampire Assistant on Netflix. Ooh, I haven't seen that in years. That came in, what, like 2009? I saw it like once. Anyway, saw Vampire Assistant on Netflix. Had a great cast, including John C. Reilly, who I actually thought John C. Reilly was kind of okay. It was a weird cast. Like, putting John C. Reilly in that role, I thought was a little odd, but it worked for me, to be honest. But the film stinks, especially the lead kid. Have you seen it? I cannot believe they hired him. He's terrible. The kid didn't do great. I'm trying to remember his name. He basically disappeared. I think he went on to do some smaller stuff, but he's never been in anything like really big and major, I don't think, since then. The funny thing is, one of the supporting characters was Josh Hutcherson. And Josh, despite the fact that a lot of people like poo-poo on him because of Hunger Games, whatever, I thought he was very good in Hunger Games. I think Josh is a really good actor. I think he's a really good actor. And he's got that show on Hulu that he did that Seth Rogen created. I've only seen a couple of episodes of that, but I've liked what I've seen. I think Josh is great, but he was like a second fiddle in that movie. Actually, like third or fourth fiddle in that movie as well. But yeah, the movie had potential. And I remember, what was it called? The full title was like called Cirque du Freak. Cirque du Freak, the Vampire's Assistant. And I remember they thought this could be their next franchise, but not so much because, you know, as you said, the movie did not work out so great. John C. did a pretty good job. Josh Hutcherson did a pretty good job, but the story was kind of weak. And unfortunately, the lead kid couldn't really carry the film himself. So that was unfortunate. Murray for Us writes, hopefully Stan Lee wasn't affected by the snap. Otherwise, no Avengers 4 cameo. Wouldn't that have been funny if in like a post-credit scene, they did 2 post-credit scenes. I'm not going to say what's in the other post-credit scene, but if they did a second post-credit scene and it's Stan Lee doing his cameo in the movie, I won't say what his cameo was, and he's there and then he disappears. That would be funny. Okay, here. Next up. Mason Barr writes, so John, there is a new B&B opening near me and they say it will have something called Screen X. Have you heard of it? I have no idea what it is. First of all, I don't even know what B&B is. Is that a bed and breakfast? There's a new bed and breakfast opening near you that has something called Screen X? I'm sorry, Mason. I don't, like, guys, I ask you guys all the time, please don't use abbreviations. Like, just tell me what it is you're talking about, because I'm not really sure. If you are talking about a bed and breakfast with something called Screen X, then I'm with you. I have no idea what we're talking about. Koba writes, with all the talk recently about spoilers, when, in your opinion, do you think it's okay to talk openly about a film? Okay, so I did a video like 9 years ago about spoilers. And here's the tricky thing about spoilers. Nobody has the same definition. When we talk about spoilers, nobody has the same definition for what a spoiler is, right? There are some people who, if you consider, look, I could tell you, okay, in Avengers, there's this one scene where, you know, Doctor Strange and Wong are talking to each other. There are some people who would consider that a spoiler. Some people interpret a spoiler as any piece of information about a movie. That is not my definition of a spoiler. What makes spoilers so tricky is that if you ask 15 different people exactly what constitutes a spoiler, you're going to get 15 different definitions. To me, and this is what I made a video about 8 years ago, and I stick to it today. I need the film fan community to come to a commonly understood standard for what is a spoiler. To me, things that are not a spoiler is anything that's in the marketing. If something's in the marketing, then it's not a spoiler. Anything that's been publicly announced, because there's this one time I talked about how Jeffrey Rush, there was it was either Pirates of the Caribbean 3 or 4, one of the two, and we knew that that Jeffrey Rush was coming back as Captain Barbossa. He was listed on the IMDb page, and they made it was in a magazine article. They wrote that he's coming back. So I said on this one episode of my movie blog podcast, well, you know, Jeffrey Rush comes back and blah, blah, blah. And I had people getting mad at me. John, that was a spoiler. We didn't know Jeffrey Rush would come back. And I'm like, look, guys, I'm sorry. They made it public information. They made that information publicly available. It's in magazine articles. They listed on IMDb. It's public information. I get that you didn't hear about it yet, but if it's public information, it's not a spoiler. So if it's in the marketing, it's not a spoiler. If it's made public information, it's not a spoiler. My other thing was this, was that if it's not a piece of information that fundamentally changes your viewing experience of the movie as intended by the director, then it's not a spoiler. Knowing that Doctor Strange and Wong have a conversation will not fundamentally alter your viewing experience of the movie going in. There are some bits of information that if you know in advance, it will fundamentally alter your viewing experience, yes. But there's 90% of the information in a movie will not, if you know about it in advance, fundamentally alter your viewing experience as intended by the director. So that's it. To me, that's a definition of a spoiler. It's a single piece of information that is so significant that if you know it in advance, it fundamentally alters your viewing experience of the movie. If we can all come to that common understanding, then it becomes a lot easier about spoilers. Because some people share stuff that they don't think is a spoiler, and 20 other people go, oh, you just shared a spoiler. It's like, because, so we all have different definitions. Understanding my definition of a spoiler, you're asking, when is it okay to talk about a movie openly? My way of looking at it is this, and it might be different than your way. When a movie has come out in theaters, finished its full theatrical run, and has then later come out on home video and has been out on home video for a month or two. Okay? It's come out theatrically, finished its theatrical run, then came out on home video and has been out on home video for a month or two. At that point, I think we've got to be able to openly talk about films. Now, granted, there are some exceptions to that, like the Sixth Sense spoiler, right? You never want to share that one specific thing about Sixth Sense. You don't want to give away the ending of Seven, but for the most part, you should be able to talk about just about anything, because the way I look at it, if a movie's come out in theaters, you never went to go see it in theaters, it's out on home video, has been out on home video for months, and you still haven't seen it, then you clearly don't have a lot of interest in seeing that movie. I think that's fair to assume. That if it's come out in theaters, finished the theatrical run, came out in videos, been out on video for months, and you still haven't seen it, clearly seeing this movie is not high on your priority list. Now, if that movie has a Sixth Sense kind of spoiler in it, sure, you don't want to talk about that one specific thing, but in general, I think at that point, we should be free to be able to just kind of openly talk about a movie. Because if you haven't seen it by then, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're clearly not that interested in seeing it. Again, exceptions, no Sixth Sense level spoiler. There might be one or two in Avengers Infinity War you may never want to talk about openly, but at some point you have to, and that's how I interpret it. You guys may see it different, which is totally cool, but that's just kind of how I see it. All right, let's move on here. And we get to Murray for us, who writes, have you ever gone to an Alamo Drafthouse theater before? I think somebody asked me that before, and I said no, but I think I did. I think I did go to one when I was in Austin, Texas. And I believe I visited, if it's the same theater I'm thinking about, and I believe that was quite a positive experience for me. Now, I have bias against Alamo Drafthouse, not because of my prior affiliation with AMC, but because they've done some pretty scummy things by my estimation. I'm not a big fan of, I'm not going to sit here and crap talk him, but I will let you know I'm not a big fan of the head of Alamo Drafthouse, which is a guy by the name of Tim League. Not a big fan of his. So look, I've got some personal biases against them. However, if I want to stay objective, if I'm remembering it right, and I did visit an Alamo Drafthouse in Austin, I will say it was a very positive experience. Regardless of my personal feelings towards them as an organization and their CEO, I'll just be objective and I'll be honest. It was a very positive experience for me. They do some things as a theater chain. They do some things very, very right. Very, very right. So, yeah, I don't like them. But if I'm going to be objective about it, I will tell you my experience with them just as a theater has been very, very good. So I like them as a theater chain per se. Let's see. Jimmy Galentine writes, asked a couple weeks ago, when would MoviePass pull the plug? Looks like they have started the pulling. Going to use my card until they go poof. I mean, yeah, the writing's all over the wall now. We've known forever that their model is not sustainable. And a bunch of people bought their Kool-Aid when they said, oh, we're going to, by using analytics is how we're going to generate money, generating user data. And I said, that's not going to work. And then they try to strong arm the movie theaters into cutting them into their profits. And then, now it looks like all new users, it's no longer unlimited. It's only 4 movies a month you can go see. Eventually, all the existing users, you're going to get switched to 4 movies a month as well. When they went to $10 a month, they made it so you can see one movie as many times as you want. They've gotten rid of that. Now you can only see a movie once. So if you were hoping to use your movie pass to see Avengers Infinity War 5 times, you can't do it. It's coming. Then that auditor's report came out saying things don't look good for the company. The writing's on the wall. So my recommendation is, if you have a movie pass, use it as much as you can, because it ain't going to be around for long. Or do even better, switch over to Cinemia. Cinemia has a better business model. I quite like my Cinemia card. I have both, but I've said for a while that I prefer Cinemia. The ability to order online, to order your tickets in advance, all things you can't do with MoviePass. And you can have 2 tickets. That's the other thing MoviePass never let you do. Like with MoviePass, I can't get a ticket for me and my wife. With Cinemia, every time I go to the movies, I can get 2 tickets instead of just 1, which is an advantage. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it looks like the writing is on the wall, Jimmy. It looks like their time. MoviePass is not long for this world. And it was funny because at CinemaCon, the AMC CEO was just basically sitting back going, told you, we told you guys. And it looks like it's coming true. However, something like Cinemia, I think Cinemia can hold out and work. By the way, Cinemia, feel free to become a sponsor of the John Campea Show anytime. I mean, my God, the amount of free pop I give you bastards. Where the hell's my sponsorship money? All right, next one up comes to us from Nathan C., who writes, Infinity War at number 1, Black Panther at number 5. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Incredible, Solo, and more to come. It's a Disney Marvel world, and we're all just living in it. Yeah, I mean, Disney right now is absolutely dominating. And hold on a second, let me just double check something here. Did Black Panther get back up to number 5? It did. Black Panther crawled back up to number 5. Look at that. Yeah, I mean, there was some question about will Avengers Infinity War give a little bit of oomph to Black Panther, and it has. It has given a little bit of oomph to I mean, not a ton, but it's given a little bit of oomph to it. So, yeah, that's impressive. All right, let's see here. Next up, Murray for Us writes, have you ever tried 4DX movie experience? Never have. I've never been, I don't live near a theater that has it. So I've never done it. I've had a few people ask me, what do I think about the 4DX experience? And honestly, I've never had it. So I can't really speak to that. Vinny S writes, I'm thinking Avengers 4 has some heist sequence where the remaining Avengers, Ant-Man, Captain, you know what? I'm not going to address that because that could get spoilery. Meet Kumar writes, heard what you said about cinema atmosphere in the USA. I don't feel like it's the same in the UK, except for a few laughs but no cheers, which really sucks. That's unfortunate. Yeah, like what he's talking about, what Meet Kumar is talking about is that, you know, one of my absolute favorite things, and one of the reasons why, to me, nothing beats the movie-going experience, is the whole idea of the crowd. Going into a movie, whether it's a Deadpool or it's a, you know, Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, or whether it's like an Avengers Infinity War, nothing you can do at home will ever match the experience of watching those movies with a crowd. Even like a movie like Schindler's List, I still remember watching Schindler's List, and part of the magic of that movie, as devastating as it is, part of the magic of that movie was being shocked, awe, weeping, whatever, with 600 other people in the theater with you, and we're all having this big, massive experience together. Nothing will ever touch that. You can have the greatest home theater system at home all you want, but when you watch movies at home, you are missing that element of magic of watching in the theater. And it's really sad to hear that you don't have that same kind of experience in the UK. You guys should loosen up a little bit in the UK. Get people cheering in those theaters. Hellboy just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Hellboy. Ben Robinson writes, did you like the Dexter finale? I actually did. First of all, I love Dexter. Love Dexter. Did not love the Dexter finale, though. Didn't love the finale. You know, there have been some whispers about the possibility of them reviving Dexter. Because, you know, you've got Will and Grace been revived. You've got Roseanne have been revived. They're having good success with those types of things. I'm totally open to going back to Dexter. I would love to go back to Dexter. I would love it. And it also would help wash the stench of the of the finale out of my mouth. I'm glad you liked it. Everything's subjective, so I'm glad you liked it. But for me, I was disappointed with the actual final episode. I was a little bit disappointed with it, but I love the series. Completely love it. Let's see. Hellboy. Oops, had the jump. Hold on a second, guys. Let's see here. Where's Hellboy? There we go. Hellboy. Hellboy writes, I remember seeing Avengers when I was 9 with my dad. Best movie-going experience for me. Avengers is my Star Wars. Listen, I'm telling you, I still remember, we told this story yesterday, Ann and I, talking about the first time we saw Avengers. It was at a press screening, right? So all rickety movie press, right? Jaded movie press. We went in and watched Avengers. And like we came out, and I told the story, but it's true. I came out, I was shaking. Like I had so much adrenaline going through me. I was shaking. Never had anything like that been done in a comic book movie. Like, and everybody was chattering, like all this film press stuff. We're like giddy school kids coming in, like, oh my God, did you see what we just watched? Like it was an insane experience. And has to be one of the best movie-going experiences I've ever seen. And it was with a bunch of film journalists as opposed to a regular audience. Normally my best experiences are with regular audiences. But this one, like everybody was just so floored by Avengers. It was like we were hopped up on sugar. I mean, it was just nuts. Absolutely nuts. I loved that experience. I'm glad you had a good experience with it too, Hellboy. All right, next one. Kristen Philippic writes, metaphysical question, all right. If you see a spoiler, but don't know it's a troll spilling spoilers or a troll making stuff up, is it really a spoiler? I will say yes. You know, I have banned people from my chat boards before, even when I know they're dropping fake spoilers, because you are spoiling the movie. You're irritating people. You've just dealt a big sense of disappointment to somebody. Even if you're making it up, you've just really disappointed somebody. And they have no idea if it's true or not, but they have no reason not to believe it's true. And so that you just ruin their experience for them before they even set foot in a movie theater. So yes, I will say, if you're out there dropping false spoilers just to try to irritate people and to hurt people, yeah, you are spoiling the movie. So I will answer your metaphysical question with a yes. I do believe that's actor spoiler. There's a difference, yes, but it's still spoilery. It's still spoiler-ish. So I will say yes to that. Karthik Rao writes, the only IMAX in my city, Infinity War, is sold out until Thursday, so I have to wait till Friday to watch it in IMAX. This has never happened before, feeling sad. Well, go watch it in another movie theater. You don't have to watch it in IMAX. Dear heavens, go to something else. You don't have to, I mean, sure, the IMAX is a great experience, I'm sure, but go watch it in another theater. Don't wait till, I guarantee you ain't going to make it to Friday without finding out all the spoilers. You're just playing with fire at this point. I appreciate wanting to see it in IMAX and everything, but good luck not getting all the spoilers for the movie before going in on Friday. I would say just go get tickets to your closest theater, whether it's IMAX or not. That would be my recommendation. But hey, man, if it's important to you, then you do you. Just be warned, you're going to have a hard time getting to Friday without all the spoilers. Number Thor writes, with Infinity War, I'm cinemas. What remaining big movies coming out, like Solo, Venom, Dark Phoenix, Aquaman, and Deadpool 2, what will win the box office of these remaining big movies? I think the one that's going to win the box office is one you didn't mention, and that's Jurassic World 2. I think Jurassic World 2 is going to be, because look, I doubted the first Jurassic World making as much stupid money as it did. I won't doubt it again. Even though I think it's going to take a step backwards from the first Jurassic World, especially at the box office, I think it will probably make more money than any of those films. Venom, I think if they make $600 million, Sony's going to dance a jig. Sony will be thrilled if Venom can make $600 million. I'm not sure it will make $600 million, but Sony would be thrilled if it makes $600 million. Dark Phoenix, I don't think any X-Men films ever hit the $1 billion club. Aquaman is certainly not going to hit the $1 billion club. Deadpool 2 has a chance. The Deadpool 1 made $783 million or something like that. And I think it's going to go up but will it go up enough to hit $1 billion? I'm not so sure. Anyway, the bottom line is I think the film that has the best chance of joining the $1 billion club is probably Jurassic World 2. So I'm going to go Jurassic World 2 on that. Okay, let's see. Hellboy writes in again. Civil War, best character-based Civil War, best character-based action movie in my opinion. It all depends on what you're going to define as a character-based movie. Was Civil War a character-based movie? I'm not sure. They certainly did great character work in that movie. They absolutely did. Great character development. You had great relationship evolutions going on in that film. They did a lot right. But I mean, if you look at a movie like my all-time favorite action movie is True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, is that a character-based movie? Is it based on Arnold? I mean, it all depends on your definitions there, I suppose. But Civil War is in my top 3 MCU movies of all time. I'm not quite sure Infinity War is. Actually, I'm fairly certain Infinity War isn't in my top 3 MCU movies, but I'm also pretty positive it's in my top 5. Civil War is outstanding. Some people think it's the best MCU movie ever. Some people think Winter Soldier is the best MCU movie. Some people think Avengers, the first one, is the best MCU movie ever. But the bottom line is, holy crap, the MCU's got a hell of a lot of good films. When you have so much debate amongst which of the MCU amazing films is the best MCU film, you've done pretty well for yourself. Let's see. Philosophy Cole, or Colonel, whatever, writes, any sense in which you'd agree or almost with a statement, Tomb Raider with Vikander provides people with more enjoyable movie experience than Infinity War. Story, character development, visuals, etc., or Infinity War better in all ways? Well, here's the thing. I enjoyed Tomb Raider with Alicia Vikander. I thought it was pretty damn solid. I thought it was a solid little film. However, story and character development were actually some of the weaknesses to the film. You know, what they did great was giving us a great action hero in Alicia Vikander playing Lara. I think they did great. The movie had a wonderful sense of adventure to it. And it did a number of things very well that made me go, yeah, this is a good comic book movie. Or sorry, video game movie. And we've never really been able to say that with a straight face before, right? This is a good video game movie. It wasn't great. It wasn't spectacular. However, some of the weaknesses to me were story, development, things like that. That's where it kind of fell a little bit short. So, I'll say in Tomb Raider, you know, one of the weaknesses of Infinity War is their overall character development because they got no time for anybody, except Thanos. And Thanos has great character development. I love Thanos. So, man, yeah, I'm going to say Infinity War is better in every way than Tomb Raider. Because even in the areas where Infinity War is a little bit thin and a little bit weak, Tomb Raider is more thin and more weak in those areas, I think. That's just my personal opinion. You may think differently, which is totally cool. But that's just kind of how I'm seeing it right now. So I'll say Infinity War is pretty much better in every way than Tomb Raider is. Just my thought, though. Maybe I'll change my mind about that. Kevin Brown writes, did you ever watch the Limitless TV show? I loved the movie and thought the show had serious potential. Almost felt like the studio didn't take it seriously, even with Bradley Cooper consulting and starring. I never did. And you know what? I'm with you. I loved the movie. Johnny Whitworth was in that one too. And I loved the movie. I thought the movie was great. I was a little confused when I saw that they were doing the show. And speaking of Dexter a little bit earlier, wasn't the girl who played Dexter's sister in that show as well? I thought I saw her in some of the promos. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But no, I never did get around to watch. I'm one of the reasons that show got canceled, because I never watched it. So I've got no opinion about it because I didn't see it. And now I feel bad that I didn't see it. Because I did. I liked the movie so much. Jetty Laurie writes, I don't drink alcohol, but celebrating $258 million. Was sad and disappointed by The Force Awakens Last Jedi, but loved Infinity War and happy to see something I love on top. Well, I love The Force Awakens. And yeah, when it broke the record, it shattered the record. I mean, just destroyed the previous record. And I honestly, for the longest time, I didn't think it could be beaten. It wasn't until 2 or 3 days before the movie came out, before Infinity War came out, that I finally had to say on this show, you know what? Because the viewer wrote and said, last chance, does Infinity War break the record? And I've been saying for a year it won't, but a few days before I switched my position, said, you know what? I think it will. I think it will. And then, like, the Friday numbers came out, and the Friday numbers were behind The Force Awakens. Or sorry, the Thursday numbers came out, and it was behind The Force Awakens. The Friday numbers came out, and it was behind The Force Awakens. So it had to play catch up. And so it did a massive Saturday. I think it was the biggest Saturday of all time. And it came out on top. And it came out on top. So beautiful to see that a movie that, it's more than a movie, it's that the franchise could accumulate to something like that. Obviously, Ant-Man's not going to repeat that. Obviously, Captain Marvel's not going to repeat that. Maybe Avengers 4 will. We'll have to wait and see when we get to it. But it's really nice. And I love The Force Awakens. I really like The Last Jedi too, but I love The Force Awakens. But I like Infinity War more than The Last Jedi. I do. I think I prefer The Force Awakens over Infinity War, but I like, as far as films that have come out like in the last 12 months, I like Infinity War more than I like The Last Jedi. So it's really good to see the MCU, which has so habitually cranked out excellence for 10 years. Yes, they've stumbled here and there. Absolutely they have. But overall, 10 years of excellence. Be rewarded with something like this. And we've got a new record holder, and it's going to be a while before that record gets broken, I think. Gio writes, Infinity War is the closest experience I've had to my favorite movie experience in a theater, which was Avengers 1, which is the best MCU movie, in my opinion, ranked number 3. I'm very close to your feelings on that, Gio, except I would probably have Infinity War at number 4 or 5. Or sorry, Infinity War. I put it number 4 or 5 for my favorite MCU movies. But, I mean, it's a tremendous experience. You gotta watch this movie with a live audience. Do not be one of these people that waits for it to come out in video or whatever. You gotta see this movie with a live audience. It's amazing watching with a live audience. And I agree, it is one of my favorite live audience viewing experiences behind the first Avengers movie. Overall, not in my top 5, but as just a pure viewing experience goes with a live audience, definitely in my top 3. Definitely in my top 3. Spencer Smothers writes, Infinity War and Black Panther both in the top 5 of the box office. Wow. I know, it's crazy, right? And here's the thing. You had to have a few other movies really fail, and you had to have Black Panther jump up a little bit, because Black Panther went all the way down to number 8. Black Panther was down at number 8, got a little bit of a push. And so here's the funny thing. I remember somebody asked the question, is it possible Black Panther and Infinity War could both be in the top 5? I said, I don't think so. I can't see that happening. I said, it'll be in the top 10. I believe it will be in the top 10. And we're going to get both films in the top 10. But I said at the time, I didn't think top 5. And then it dropped all the way down to number 8. So then I thought for sure, oh yeah, well that does it. It's not going to be in the top 5. And it beat Super Troopers 2 by $780,000. Not even by $1 million. It beat Super Troopers 2 by $780,000 to hold on, to just climb into that number 5 spot. And sure enough, we've got Avengers at number 1. We got Black Panther at number 5. And good for Marvel, man. Good for Marvel. Black Panther's an excellent movie. Excellent movie. And it's really neat to see them both in the top 5. I didn't think that would happen. I thought we'd get Black Panther and Infinity War both in the top 10. I did not think top 5. And like I said, Black Panther dropped all the way down to number 8, so I thought, oh, well, there you go. But then it clawed, pardon the pun, clawed its way back up to number 5 by $780,000. By the skin of its panther teeth, it got into that top 5 spot, so good for them. ZOMG Ruler writes, why do people attack DC when Marvel is winning? Well, I think a lot of the time it's not people attacking DC, but I think, look, if you don't think it's a legitimate point of comparison, then you're being naive. It is a legitimate point of comparison. You've got one giant cinematic universe and another giant cinematic universe. You've got one that had a certain result and one that has a radically different result. Just by making the comparison is not attacking DC. That's not, look, bringing up the factual, true, valid point. Infinity War pretty much made as much money in 3 days worldwide as Justice League did in 12 weeks. That is a proper allegorical thing to bring up in comparison to make. It's a proper one to make. But just by bringing up that fact, that's not attacking DC. Going, DC sucks because blah, blah, blah. That's attacking DC, yes. But by simply drawing the comparisons, it's a valid comparison to draw. It's as valid as any comparison. If that's not a valid comparison to make, then there's no such thing as valid comparisons. Yes, you have to understand the differences of the situation, all that kind of stuff. Yes. But you have one giant superhero amalgamation team-up movie, makes $650 million worldwide in its total theatrical run. The other cinematic universe has the same thing, a little bit bigger, granted, and it beats that in 3 days, or almost equals it in 3 days. That's a valid comparison to make, and is worth discussing. And it's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not a subjective thing. It's a fact. Bringing up facts is not attacking. Bringing up facts is having factual discussion and worthwhile comparison. And that is a worthwhile comparison to make. And if it's not, then there's no such thing as valid comparisons. So I don't think most people are attacking DC. They're just bringing up the point and saying, well, here it is. And it's worth discussing. Let's see. The Kosan writes, in honor of your shirt, what are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh-Washington series, and who is your favorite for winning the Stanley Cup? Pittsburgh's my favorite to win the Stanley Cup. They still are. Any team that's got Sidney Crosby has got to be considered a favorite. The Washington Capitals, I wish they could play anybody other than Pittsburgh, because, man, that team deserves it. Alex Ovechkin deserves to get deep into the playoffs. At least he's one of the greatest pure goal scorers in the history of the game. And they have never been able to get deep in the playoffs. And the last couple of years, they keep running into Pittsburgh. This series has been fabulous so far. Great, entertaining hockey. Sid the Kid playing great. Ovechkin's playing great. Goalies on both sides have stood on their head at different periods of time. It's been a fabulously entertaining series so far. I'm still picking Pittsburgh to go all the way, other than Toronto, which I bleed blue and white, but Toronto's out of the playoffs now. My second favorite team for decades has been the Pittsburgh Penguins because of Mario Lemieux. But yeah, it's been a fabulous, fabulous series so far. So entertaining. So entertaining. Both teams have played great. The number Thor writes, you say Avengers 4 is not part 2 of Infinity War, but at my local cinemas, it's listed as Avengers Infinity War Part 1. So number 4 must be the second part, right? No, Kevin Feige has explicitly said they are 2 separate movies. They have always been planned as 2 separate movies. They are not Part 1 and Part 2. And as a matter of fact, when it was first announced that they were Part 1, because when they first announced the titles, it was Infinity War Part 1, Infinity War Part 2. But they tried to explain to people that this isn't us splitting one movie into 2 pieces. This isn't a single movie being broken into 2. They're 2 separate films. But because people weren't getting their heads around that, they finally went, okay, look, the second one's not called Infinity War Part 2. This is Infinity War. The second one's going to have a separate title. So whatever your local theater did, they made a mistake, because Kevin Feige has been very explicit. The Russo brothers have also been very explicit about this. Avengers Part 4 is its own movie. Infinity War is its own movie. Are they connected? Yes, but so is Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron is connected to Infinity War. The first Avengers is connected to Infinity War. Black Panther was connected to Infinity War. So is the next chapter also connected to this as well? Absolutely it is. But it's not Part 2. It's not the second half of one movie. They are 2 independently self-sustaining, standalone movies that are interconnected to all of the MCU, just like every other movie. The Russo brothers have made that explicitly clear. Kevin Feige has made that explicitly clear. I don't know why we're still having this discussion. I really don't. But anyway, there you go. So anyway, next one up. Hardy Buck writes, is John C. Reilly now dead in the MCU? Ooh, sorry, spoiler question. I'm not going to answer that. Better experience, Ready Player One or Infinity War. Loved, but bro, Infinity War, Infinity War. Yeah, I loved both of these movies, but yeah, Infinity War, I think, was the better experience in the movie theater. What's the better movie? That's a tighter question. That's a closer question, I think. But easily for me, even though I had a great time in the theater, it was an exciting thrill ride with a big movie-going audience. With Ready Player One, for sure it was, but Infinity War topped it. As far as the in-theater experience with the whole audience, absolutely, it was amazing. Again, you gotta see this movie in theaters with a live audience. You just have to. It's just an amazing experience. Mike Carlos just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that. Murray Frost writes, how does Thor survive? I'm not going to talk about anything. All right. James Bonner writes, Anne hasn't seen Aliens. Have you considered marriage counseling? Yeah, it was funny because on the live Avengers Infinity War spoiler review yesterday, Anne mentioned that she had never seen Aliens. She's seen Alien, but she's never seen Aliens. And I did not know this. And I was like, how have I not known this? How? And then last night, she and I are out, Anne and I went to go see Stomp last night. I've seen Stomp now like 3 or 4 times in my life. If you ever get a chance to go see Stomp, go watch Stomp. Such a great show. But anyway, Anne and I are out last night, and we're coming home in an Uber. And I said, no, seriously now, we got to talk about this. You've never seen Aliens. So I think sometime this week, Ann and I are going to hunker down. I'm going to show her Aliens for the first time. Help me, self-help to productivity writes, Infinity War beat Justice League in one weekend. Wow. I don't think it beat Justice League in 1 week. I think it came close to beating Justice League in 1 weekend. But it's going to take another day or two, and then it'll pass it. It's going to beat it in its first week for sure. But I think it came just a little bit shy of beating it overall, unless some new updated numbers have come out that I'm not. But the last time I checked, it actually fell about 20 million short of beating Justice League in its opening weekend. But we'll have to wait and see about that. So it's possible. Nothing here. I like that username. Writes, Avengers Infinity War is, in my opinion, the best movie that Marvel made. I smiled a lot, I laughed out loud, and I cried. What else can I ask for? On a side note, My Hero Academia on Hulu. You might like it. You know, it's funny. I've never even heard of My Hero Academia, and I like Hulu. I'm a big Hulu fan. And in the last couple of days, a number of you guys have been recommending it to me. So I'm probably going to have to check it out. And look, Infinity War is great. And it's not in my top 3 MCU movies, but I love it. It's great. I can certainly see why people like yourself, Nothing Here, and others, to them, it's like, this I think is my favorite MCU movie. Totally understand why. It's certainly worthy. For me, it's in my top 5. Any film in the top 5 can make an argument to be the best of the bunch, for sure. So I'm glad you had such a great experience with it. And thank you for adding yourself to the growing list of people who are recommending that I check out My Hero Academia. I'm going to have to give it a shot. Sam Fisher writes, over under 70% drop for Infinity War from week 1 to week 2. Oh, I'm going to take, under that. Yeah. It's going to have, I think, a standard drop. I think it's going to, because so many people went out to see it already, it's going to take, there's not a lot of people who haven't seen it yet. So it's going to take a drop, but I think it's going to be a standard drop. I think we're going to see it around the 50% mark. So yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be, it's good enough. It's getting solid word of mouth. A lot of people saw it. So I think it's going to come in around 50%, a 50% drop. But no, I don't think it'll be a 70% drop. Let's see. Fool's Pajamas. You guys make some of the best usernames, I swear. Loving the NHL playoffs this year. Absolutely. Even my beloved Leafs, man. I said they would lose to Boston in 7, and they did. But it was an entertain. I couldn't ask for anything more. Kudos to the Boston Bruins. Very proud of my Maple Leafs. They're showing signs of promise for the first time in decades. Great to see, and I am loving the playoffs so far. Anyway, loving the NHL playoffs this year, but I can't find good hockey podcast that's as entertaining as your show. Would you consider doing a hockey show for the playoffs? If not, could you recommend one? Well, here's the problem. I simply don't have time. I would love nothing more. Believe me. I haven't talked about this a lot, but I talked to Ann about it, and I thought long and hard about launching a second YouTube channel that was just talking sports. because you know I love talking sports. If I wasn't doing movie punditry right now, I would be working for some local sports radio station. I'd be working for some like local ESPN affiliate, say whether it's Los Angeles or Boston or Detroit or something like that. I would be doing sports punditry. That's what I would be doing if I wasn't doing movies. But movies are my first love. I thought very hard about doing a secondary YouTube channel that was just on sports. But the reality is I don't have time to do it. And I don't have time to keep up with sports enough to be able to commentate on it adequately, like a Colin Cowherd does, or Mike Greenberg, or something like that, or Jim. I was going to say something, but you know what? I'm not going to. Anyway, I thought long and hard about it. So no, I simply don't have the time to do it. I'm having a hard enough time getting everything done in a day. It's just too much. So who knows? Maybe someday what I'm doing here will grow enough. I'll have 3 or 4 other staff people working with me, which will free up some of my time to do something else. But I don't see it happening anytime soon. But thanks for bringing that up, man. I appreciate that. All right. Mason Barr writes, B&B is a theater chain, 5 in North Kansas City area. I assumed it was all over the world. My bad for the misinterpretation. No problem. I've never heard of it. So when you said B&B, I thought you meant bed and breakfast. I'm like, are bed and breakfast now putting like little home theater systems in their bed and breakfasts and calling it like a theater experience? I had no idea what you were talking about. Okay, so yeah, just to be clear, Mason, I've never heard of B&B. I've never heard of it. So maybe it's in more than just Kansas, but it's certainly not in Los Angeles. So, and it's certainly not in Canada, at least not when I was in Canada. So I've never heard of it. So my bad, I've never heard of it. Don't worry about it, man. If it's called B&B, then you weren't giving a short form. It's actually called B&B. I've just never heard of it. Okay, Chris Warden writes, oh my gosh, we've only got a few minutes left. Okay, Chris Warden writes, the other half of my Hail Caesar comment from yesterday got cut off. I was just saying that there's a big divide between its 85% critic approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes and the C- audience rating on CinemaScore. So? I mean, yeah, look, it's the reality. The vast majority of films, the critic score and audience scores, although you can never trust audience scores online because they're all tainted. But anyway, the critic scores and audience scores are usually like within 20% of each other. Like the vast majority of films, they're usually close. But you're going to get one film out of every however many that there is a bigger disparity. It doesn't really mean anything. Look, the thing about Hail Caesar was, and the only good thing about this movie was that it really is a love letter to the classic era of Hollywood. And they kind of do an homage to every kind of movie that there was back in like the 50s and 60s. Like it was an homage. It was a love letter to old Hollywood. And on that level, it was very special. And you can tell for people like film critics who love Hollywood and love Hollywood history and love all kind of stuff, it probably affected them a little bit more than it did a lot of other people like me. To me, doing a love letter is not enough. You also have to make a solid movie around it. And to me, Hail Caesar was not a solid movie. But you know what? I remember I took my friend Ashley. She came with me to see Hail Caesar with me when I went to a press screening of it. And she's not in the film. She's not a media pundit. She's not a film critic or anything like that. And I came out, I'm like, I hated that movie. She goes, I love that movie. So she loved it. I mean, that's great. But again, she loves old Hollywood. Like she loves the classic stuff. And this movie really did paint a beautiful love letter to classic Hollywood. So I get that. But I mean, you could sit here all day and just, here's an example of one movie that had a big difference between critic and audience. Well, so what? I mean, what's the point? Right? So again, if you liked it, that's great. Maybe you didn't like it, I'm not sure. But every movie is a unique, different thing, so you can't make any. So I'm not really quite sure what the point was of bringing it up. That's all I'm saying. I'm not quite sure what the point was. Sid Vicious writes, why do films by Nolan/Tarantino have highly passionate supporters than films like King's Speech or $1 Million Baby? Is it the demographics of fans? Oh, well, Sid, I mean, you're basically asking, why do fans like one film and not another? It's all subjective. There's really no answering that. All film is subjective. Films hit different people in different ways. So a lot of films by Tarantino, people just love them. And there's something about the Tarantino films that have them just keep talking about them. Whereas a film like $1 Million Baby, which is a brilliant film, I love that movie, but it doesn't hit everybody the same way. So, I mean, if you're asking me, Sid, why do some people like some movies and not other movies? That's a 24-hour HBO special talking about analyzing and breaking down why some people like some movies over the other. But hey, look, King's Speech, people clearly liked. I mean, it won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. $1 Million Baby, it won a couple of awards. I can't remember if it won Best Picture. I'm not sure that it did. I have to remember that or not. So clearly, a lot of people love it. But there's also passionate fan bases for Nolan and Tarantino films and stuff like that. Why some people prefer some things over the other, that's way too big of a discussion for us to get in here. It's just way too wild and generic. But it's something that we're always talking about for sure. Jeremiah J. Oops, had another jump. Oh, man. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay, where do we go? Jeremiah J. writes, great pen shirt. Hopefully we see a three-peat. I'm hoping too. Fingers crossed, Jeremiah. And the last question we're going to take today, and by the way, guys, if you sent in questions that I don't have time to get to, don't worry about it. They'll be answered in the next companion video, which does come out tomorrow morning. So the next companion video comes out tomorrow morning. Any live questions that you guys sent in that I don't have time to get to right now will be on that companion video. Your question will get answered. All right, so the final question today comes to us from Sherwin Liu, who writes, do you think that Marvel, Infinity War, gave the mainstream PG-13 movie the hopelessness experience of The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones? I can't really answer that because it would go into risking giving some spoilers away, so I can't address that. I can't address that. So I'll make this the final question today. It comes from Kevin Newman, who writes, was in Wyoming, theaters not quite sold out Sunday, still some room to maneuver for opening box office dollars, but you're probably right about 300 million. Yeah, 300 million it's just, I mean, I still thought it would be a couple years before Star Wars The Force Awakens record got beaten, but it's beatable. Clearly it is. But the 300 million thing, that's been a discussion, like people saying, I remember I had this one-on-one argument with somebody who said, Infinity War, when it comes out, this is like 4 or 5 months ago, it's going to make $400 million opening weekend, and you're an idiot if you can't see that. I'm like, you don't understand the math. There's just not enough seats in theaters or physical buildings or whatever that can get it to that. It can't happen. It's not a matter of how good Infinity War is. It's just mathematically, it can't happen. Yes, it is, and you're an idiot if you don't see it. I'm like, oh my God. And the same was like with 300 million. I mean, it's just a math problem at this point that 300 million can ever be hit. Now, at some point, ticket prices are going to continue to go up and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, with inflation, we're going to get there at some point. But right now, it's just mathematically incredibly improbable. So, like, if The Force Awakens cannot get within a whiff of 300 million, if Avengers Infinity War, with every screening conceivable around me being sold out to the tits until at least Friday, if that doesn't get within smelling distance of 300, because even at 258, you're still talking $42 million more. That's more than most movies make on their opening weekends. It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. And I still thought it would be a couple more years before even Force Awakens got touched. But 300 million is it's a math problem. It's not an excitement level problem. It's not an anticipation level problem. It's not a movie excellence problem. It's just a math problem. How many seats are available, multiplied by how many screenings you have, multiplied by how many theaters there are, multiplied by how many days there are in an opening weekend, which is finite and never changes. It's a math problem. And I just don't know when we're going to see that. Eventually, yes, because of inflation, but we're a while off from seeing a $300 million thing. But then again, I thought we were still going to be a while off before seeing The Force Awakens record broken too. And it did, so good on it. But even then, it's still 42 million short of 300 million. And again, it's just a math problem. There are only so many seats to be sold. Anyway. Okay, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of Open Mic. Listen, do me a favor. I need your input, guys. Would you be interested? Now, I need to do an Infinity War spoiler review part 2 to catch up on all the questions that came in yesterday that I didn't have time to answer. My question for you is, should I do a part 3? Should we do, because it seems like everybody still wants to talk about it. Should I do a part 3 like tomorrow night? Should we do another live thing tomorrow night just to talk more about Avengers Infinity War? Let me know what you guys think. Fire me off an email. Email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Once again, that's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Email me and let me know if you think it's worth doing a part 3 of it. I'm just curious to know what you guys think. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today for this installment of Open Mic. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea. Make sure you come back a little bit later today for the John Campea Show, talking about all the movie news. Make sure you join me. That's at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll look forward to seeing you then. Anyway, my name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.